The president, you see, still speaking about the auto emissions. This bill that's working its way through Congress is kind of interesting that there is a kind of a growing movement, you might call it. It was started or spearheaded by Congressman Ron Paul to audit the Fed. You hear the Federal Reserve talk all about transparency, but now, how about a transparent Fed? Well, anyway, Darrell Delamaide is a columnist at MarketWatch, joins us now from D.C. to explain a little bit of what's going on here. Darrell, what is happening with this Ron Paul-sponsored bill?
Well, it seems to be gaining a lot of support. When I wrote the column last week, it had 149 co-sponsors, and today it's gone up to 165, which is almost like a pre-vote, given the wide support that it has. And it's bipartisan. While most of the co-sponsors are Republican, there's good 20-25 Democrats who've also joined in. And in general, it seems to reflect a feeling in Congress that there has to be more accountability at the Fed, given the role that it's played in this particular crisis.
So what exactly is it that they want to do, I guess, would be one of the questions I'd have. And one of our viewers actually brought up the point, okay, this sounds good. We should have more transparency, but what are the metrics that are going to be used to actually accomplish that goal?
Well, I think they just want to find out what exactly the Fed has done. There's reports that in addition to a $2 trillion balance sheet, the Fed doubled its balance sheet in connection with the crisis, that there's another $7 trillion out there off balance sheet that nobody really knows about. So Congress wants to find out how much money the Fed has deployed in this crisis, in what forms, and also how it arrived at the decisions it made. You know, some of the decisions seem obviously good, like injecting liquidity into the banking system. But other decisions, like bailing out AIG and bailing out AIG's counterparties at 100 cents on the dollar, are more questionable. And what Congress wants to know is, how were these decisions arrived at? What were the motivations? What were the reasons?
Okay, well, Darrell, then... Okay, walk me through this. Just to even simplify it further, would my taxpayer money be used to then do some sort of audit of the government who's already using my taxpayer money to try to save the economy?
Well, the Fed's money is not strictly speaking taxpayer money. It's just money that's fabricated because the Federal Reserve.
Sure, but you see what I'm saying? It just seems like I want to get a clear idea of the food chain here and the resources. So it's the resources that, I mean, this would be, someone had to be behind these audits. It's time, it's money, it's looking into whatever they're going to look into. We don't even know how they would really do it, right? So,
well, who would do it, right?
So, yeah, and that's going to cost something.
Well, the Government Accountability Office would be the ones doing it. That's a congressional institution that reports to Congress. They have a staff of auditors, that conducts this kind of audit. So they would be the ones commissioned to do it. They would have to finish it by the end of 2010. So we're not talking about even anything like the stress tests, which were done in a matter of weeks. We're talking about an extensive long-term audit that would be done thoroughly. And
then bring in like brokerage firms as consultants in this? I'm just wondering.
I don't think that's the plan. The GAO is actually set up to conduct audits. The problem with the Fed is that by law it cannot be audited by the GAO or by anybody outside of the Fed. So what this law intends to do is to change that exemption for the Fed.
Right.
Any other government agency can be audited, is routinely audited, whether it's the SEC,
sure.
The GAO has had audited. So it's basically bringing the Fed under the same accountability that other government agencies have.
What's the, this is Washington, somebody's got to be vehemently opposed to it, right? What's the argument against doing this? Money? Just spending resources on it?
I have not heard the arguments against it, specifically with regard to this bill so much. In general, the feeling is that in order to fulfill its mission of conducting monetary policy, the Fed should be free from political control. So what opponents would say, obviously, is that this is a stalking horse. This is the beginning of more political control over the central bank. So you have to, as always, balance the two things. To what extent do, you know, in a democracy do you need to have control over this? But even Paul Volcker, a former Fed chairman, has said that he doesn't think that a democracy can tolerate, and that's his word, tolerate the type of power the Fed has exercised without some sort of review.
Interesting. All right, Darrell, thanks a lot. Darrell Delamaide from MarketWatch in Washington.